Hey everyone, welcome back. We're from Back to Your Roots Herbs, and today we're diving into the world of a pretty amazing herb.
Yeah, we're talking about Polygala tenuifolia. You might also know it as yuan-ji. It's been used in traditional Chinese medicine for, centuries.
And get this, it's not just some ancient remedy, you know. Modern science is starting to catch up and understand why it's been so valued for so long.
Totally. This herb is packed with all sorts of compounds that have the potential to do some really cool things for our health.
Okay, so let's break it down. When we talk about Polygala tenuifolia extract, what exactly are we dealing with?
So imagine it like this. The extract is like a treasure chest full of these active molecules. Some of the big players are these things called triterpenoid saponins. They're pretty complex, but basically they're known to be good for protecting our brain cells.
Brain protection. Oh, I'm already interested. And you mentioned something about inflammation too, right?
Exactly. Some specific types of triterpenoid saponins, like ongisaponins and polygalasaponins, have been shown to have some pretty strong anti-inflammatory effects.
So we're talking about something that could potentially help with things like, I don't know, joint pain or other inflammatory conditions.
Potentially, yes. But remember, research is always evolving, and it's important to talk to a healthcare professional about any specific health concerns.
Of course, always good advice. Now, you mentioned that triterpenoid saponins are just one group of compounds in this extract. What else is in there?
Well, there's another fascinating group called xanthone glycosides. These are really interesting because they're known for their antioxidant properties.
Antioxidants, those are the things that fight off those nasty free radicals, right?
You got it. Free radicals can cause all sorts of damage in our body, so having antioxidants around to neutralize them is a good thing.
So xanthone glycosides, good for fighting free radicals. What else?
We also have phenolic glycosides in the mix. One particularly noteworthy one is called tenufolicide A.
Tenuifolicide A. Okay, and what does this one do?
This one's pretty cool. It seems to work by directly targeting specific pathways in our cells that are involved in inflammation. Think of it like calming down those cellular alarm bells that go off when there's inflammation.
Wow, so it's like getting to the root of the problem, so to speak.
Right. And then we also have oligosaccharide esters. These are still being studied, but they show potential as anti-inflammatory agents as well.
So we've got this whole team of compounds working together, each with its own superpower. It's pretty incredible to think about.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about the other components like sugars, polygols, ketones, alkaloids, fatty oils, and resins. They all likely contribute to the overall effects of the extract.
It's like a symphony of beneficial compounds. Okay, so we've got this amazing chemical complexity. Let's dive into some specifics. We've heard a lot about Polygala tenuifolia and its potential for brain health.
Yes, this is where things get really exciting. Research suggests that the extract could be helpful for protecting against those really challenging neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's is a scary one. How could this herb possibly help with something like that?
Well, it seems to work in a few different ways. One is by potentially reducing the buildup of those sticky proteins called beta amyloid plaques. These plaques can really interfere with how brain cells communicate with each other.
That makes sense. So it's kind of like clearing out those communication pathways in the brain.
Exactly, and it doesn't stop there. The extract also appears to help reduce neuroinflammation, which is another big factor in these neurodegenerative diseases.
So it's like a two-pronged attack on Alzheimer's.
You could say that. Plus, it might even help protect against neuronal apoptosis, which is basically the death of brain cells.
So it's not just protecting existing cells, it might even help keep them alive longer.
That's the idea. Now, it's important to emphasize that this research is still ongoing, and we're still learning more about the full potential. But the initial findings are certainly promising.
It definitely gives hope for those dealing with Alzheimer's and their families. And there was also some talk about how it might compare to existing medications for Alzheimer's, wasn't there?
Yes, there are some interesting observations there. You see, a lot of the damage in Alzheimer's is related to oxidative stress and damage to the cholinergic system, which is essential for memory and other cognitive functions.
Okay, so what does that have to do with Polygala tenuifolia?
Well, the extract shows promise in addressing both of these issues. It has antioxidant properties, as we mentioned earlier, and it might also support the cholinergic system.
So it's like a multi-targeted approach compared to some of the medications that might just focus on one thing.
Exactly, and that's what makes it so interesting. It's potentially offering a more holistic approach to supporting brain health. Plus, it might have fewer side effects than some of the conventional medications.
Now let's move beyond the brain for a bit. It seems like this extract has some pretty impressive anti-inflammatory properties as well, right?
It does. Research has shown that it can reduce those pro-inflammatory cytokines. These are like the messengers that tell your body to ramp up the inflammatory response.
So it's kind of like intercepting those inflammatory messages before they can cause too much trouble.
You could think of it that way. And remember that tenuofolicide A we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
It seems to play a key role here by calming down those inflammatory pathways in our cells.
So it's like a double whammy against inflammation. It intercepts the messages and calms down the cellular response. Pretty impressive.
It is. And then, of course, we can't forget about those antioxidant properties we discussed. Polygala tenuifolia is a potent free radical scavenger, which is crucial for overall health and well-being.
Absolutely. Now, this is where things got really interesting for me. I was surprised to learn about its potential benefits for metabolism.
Mm.
We're talking about things like anti-obesity effects and liver health.
It's an area that's generating a lot of interest. Studies have shown that the extract might be able to interfere with the way our bodies store fat and could even contribute to weight loss.
Weight loss from an herb. That's pretty remarkable. And what about the liver health aspect?
That's related to the oil extracted from the seeds of Polygala tenuifolia, known as PWSO. It seems to be particularly beneficial for a condition called metabolic dysfunction-associated fatty liver disease, or MAFLD.
MAFLD, that's a mouthful. What exactly is that?
It's a type of fatty liver disease that's linked to metabolic issues like insulin resistance and obesity. It can lead to inflammation and damage in the liver.
And how does PWSO help with that?
It all comes down to the unique type of fat molecules found in the seed oil. They're called SN2 acylglycerols, or SN2 ACTAGs. These are easily absorbed and used by the body, and they seem to have a positive impact on liver function.
So it's like providing the liver with the good kind of fat it needs to function properly.
Exactly. And those SN2 ACTAGs may also help reduce inflammation in the liver, which is a key factor in MAFLD.
This is all fascinating stuff. It really highlights just how versatile this herb is. But let's shift gears a bit and talk about its historical use in traditional Chinese medicine. You mentioned it's known as Yuan-zi, right?
Yes, Yuan-zi is the name given to Polygala tenuifolia in TCM, and its traditional uses offer a wealth of knowledge about its therapeutic properties.
So how has it been used traditionally?
It's been used for various purposes, but its primary application has been for calming the mind and improving cognitive function. Think of it as a natural way to support memory, focus, and emotional balance.
Calming the mind and boosting brain power. It sounds like those traditional uses align pretty well with the scientific findings we've been discussing.
They do, and it's not just about individual applications. Yuan-zi has also been a key component in many traditional Chinese herbal formulas.
Like what?
Oh, there are several. There's Kaisin-san, which is used for anxiety, depression, and insomnia.
That sounds relevant for a lot of people these days. Any others?
Absolutely. There's Anshen Yang Sincha, which is traditionally used to nourish the heart and calm the mind. There's also Tinwang Busin Dan, which is used to support both the heart and spleen in TCM. Ding Xinwan, which is a formula for calming the mind and soothing palpitations. And Anmian Pian, which is specifically for promoting restful sleep.
Wow, it seems like Yuan-zi is a real workhorse in TCM, addressing a wide range of mental and emotional concerns.
It really is. It's a testament to the depth of knowledge that traditional medicine holds.
And speaking of exploring deeper, there have been some pretty exciting recent discoveries about Polygala tenuifolia, haven't there?
Oh, absolutely. We're learning so much more about this plant all the time. In TCM, they talk about Yuan-zi as a Shen stabilizing agent. This is a really important concept because it helps explain its traditional use for things like brain fog, sleeplessness, and emotional imbalances.
Shen stabilizing. It sounds like it's bringing things back into harmony.
Exactly. And what's remarkable is that ancient texts like the Ben Kao Gang Mu were documenting these uses centuries ago, long before we had any understanding of modern neuroscience.
It just shows you the power of observation and experience in traditional medicine systems.
For sure. And it's not just about the historical uses. The way Polygala tenuifolia is prepared can also make a difference in its effects. Different cultures have developed their own unique techniques over time.
Well, like what?
Well, in Korea, they have a method called juzeng, which involves processing the root with honey It's thought to reduce any potential throat irritation that some of the compounds in the plant can cause, while also making the beneficial components more easily absorbed.
So it's like a gentler and more effective way of using the herb.
Precisely. And then you have the Mongolian tradition, where they typically use raw root decoctions, focusing more on their respiratory benefits. It's fascinating how different cultures have adapted their use of this plant based on their own knowledge and needs.
It's like each culture has unlocked a different aspect of its potential. And beyond the saponins, it sounds like researchers are uncovering even more fascinating compounds within Polygala tenuifolia.
Yes. With new technologies and research methods, we're able to identify components that were previously overlooked. For example, there are these compounds called tenuifolioses DG, which have shown some really interesting activity.
What's so special about those?
Well, they've demonstrated the ability to inhibit both MAOA and MAOB enzymes. These enzymes play a role in breaking down neurotransmitters in the brain, so inhibiting them could potentially influence mood and cognitive function.
So it's like a natural way to modulate those crucial brain chemicals. What else are we learning about?
Another exciting discovery is a compound called polygalatenoside F. This one has shown promise in preventing the clumping of those beta amyloid proteins that we talked about earlier.
So it could be another weapon in the fight against Alzheimer's.
Potentially, yes. And then there are these unique compounds called N-butanoylated sucrose esters that have been found in certain varieties of the plant. They seem to interact with NMDA receptors in the brain, which are involved in learning and memory processes.
Wow, it seems like we're constantly discovering new and exciting things about this plant. And the innovation doesn't stop there, does it? There was something about using nanotechnology to enhance its effects.
That's right. Scientists are exploring some really cutting-edge ways to deliver the beneficial compounds of Polygala tenuifolia. One method involves creating silver nanoparticles using the extract itself.
Silver nanoparticles, what's the advantage of that?
Well, these nanoparticles seem to be better at crossing the blood-brain barrier, which is a protective shield around the brain. This could mean that the extract can reach the brain more effectively.
So it's like a targeted delivery system for the brain. Pretty amazing. And I also read about some promising research on its potential to support mood and emotional well-being.
Yes, there's some fascinating work being done in that area. It appears that Polygala tenuifolia might exert its mood-boosting effects through a few different pathways. One involves something called AMPA receptors, which are crucial for communication between brain cells.
How does it affect those receptors?
It seems to help stabilize them, which can have a positive impact on mood. It also enhances the activity of a specific part of the NMDA receptor, which further contributes to its mood-supporting effects.
So it's like fine-tuning those brain circuits that are involved in regulating mood.
That's a good way to put it. And it also activates something called BDNF signaling, which is incredibly important for brain health and resilience.
BDN, I've heard that's like a fertilizer for the brain, helping those brain cells grow and thrive.
That's a great analogy. BDNF is essential for the growth and survival of brain cells, so boosting its activity is a good thing.
And speaking of brain cell growth, there was also some talk about this extract potentially promoting neurogenesis.
Yes, that's one of the most exciting findings. Research suggests that Polygala tenuifolia might actually stimulate the growth of new brain cells in the hippocampus, which is a key area for learning and memory.
New brain cells. That's incredible. I thought we were stuck with the ones we were born with.
For a long time, that's what scientists thought too. But it turns out that neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells, can happen throughout life, and Polygala tenuifolia might be able to enhance that process.
So it's not just protecting existing brain cells. It might actually help us grow new ones. That's a game changer.
Absolutely. And these discoveries are leading to some very interesting potential applications. For example, there's a U.S. patent that outlines the use of a specific Polygala tenuifolia extract for managing ADHD symptoms.
ADHD. That's a condition that affects a lot of people, both children and adults.
It does. And clinical observations have shown that this specific extract, when given at a certain dosage, can lead to a significant reduction in ADHD symptoms.
That's really promising. It could offer a natural alternative to some of the medications that are currently used for ADHD.
Exactly. And for those who struggle with sleep, there's also been some compelling research using EEG, which measures brain activity.
What did those studies show?
They found that Polygala tenuifolia can increase the synchronization of certain brainwave frequencies that are associated with deep restorative sleep.
So it's like helping the brain get into that sleep groove.
Exactly. And it also influences REM sleep in a way that suggests it supports a more balanced and natural sleep cycle.
That's really interesting. It's like gently nudging the brain towards a healthier sleep pattern.
Yeah.
Now let's circle back to those metabolic benefits for a moment. You mentioned that the cold-pressed seed oil has some unique actions there.
Yes, it seems to be particularly good at promoting the browning of fat cells. This is a process where white fat cells, which are the kind that store energy, are transformed into brown fat cells, which are more metabolically active.
So it's like turning those lazy fat cells into energy-burning machines.
Exactly. And that can have a positive impact on weight management and overall metabolic health. Plus, the cold pressed seed oil appears to influence how fats are processed in the liver, potentially reducing the buildup of harmful fats.
It's like a two-pronged attack on those metabolic issues. Now, with all of these potential benefits, it's natural to wonder about safety. Is there anything to be concerned about?
That's a very important question. Based on current research, polygala tenuifolia extract appears to be safe when used appropriately. There have been some reports of minor irritation, but traditional methods like processing with honey and newer techniques like nanoencapsulation seem to minimize those risks.
That's good to know.
Mhm.
It sounds like both traditional wisdom and modern science are working together to make this herb as safe and effective as possible. Now, looking ahead, what are some of the most exciting areas for future research?
Oh, there's so many possibilities. One area that researchers are really intrigued by is its potential to influence our circadian rhythm. That's our natural sleep-wake cycle. It seems to do this by affecting certain genes involved in regulating our body clock.
So it could be helpful for people who struggle with jet lag or shift work.
Potentially, yes. Another exciting area is its role in the gut-brain axis, which is the communication pathway between our gut and our brain. There's growing evidence that our gut bacteria can significantly impact our mood and cognitive function.
And how does Polygala tenuifolia fit into that?
Well, early studies suggest that it might support the growth of beneficial bacteria in the gut, which could contribute to its calming and mood-boosting effects. It's a fascinating area of research that's still in its early stages.
It seems like the more we learn about this plant, the more amazing it becomes. It's been used for centuries in traditional medicine, and now modern science is starting to catch up and unveil its incredible potential.
Absolutely. From protecting our brain to reducing inflammation and supporting our overall well-being, Polygala tenuifolia is truly a remarkable herb.
It's a testament to the power of nature and the importance of continuing to explore the healing potential of plants.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, that's about all the time we have for today. But if you're interested in learning more about Polygala tenuifolia, we encourage you to check out the link in the description below. You can also find more information about this and other amazing herbs on our website.
And remember, knowledge is power when it comes to your health. So keep exploring and discovering those natural treasures that can help you live your best life.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. Until next time, take care.